Well, hey there, and welcome to How to Ikigai. If you're brand new here, my name is Tim Tamashiro. My Ikigai is to delight. And today, I hope I can delight you by talking about something that can be a bit of a life goal of yours. How to do a TED Talk. So I did my TED Talk about 3 years ago, and I can honestly tell you that that experience really changed my entire life. It was one of the coolest days of my whole life as well. Today, I'm going to share with you, the process of how I was invited to give a TEDx talk a few years ago, what the experience was like, and how it created so many benefits for me, but especially for others as a result. So, if giving a TED Talk is one of the things that's on your bucket list, I really hope that this video is valuable to you. I'll offer you 5 steps for giving a TEDx talk. Okay, so the first step of giving a TEDx talk is put that TEDx talk on your bucket list. I've lived a very charmed life doing all the things that fascinate me. I'm a jazz singer. I do that as one of the ways that I make part of my living, but I'm also an author and content creator and former national radio host here in Canada. So what I'm saying is that I'm no stranger for doing things that take me out of my comfort zone. I chose to depart from my radio career back in 2017 so I could pursue more meaning and so I could study positive psychology. One of the things that I'm fascinated with is Ikigai, duh. Of course, Ikigai is interesting to me. I named the channel after it. But if you're new here, Ikigai is the focused approach to purpose from Okinawa, Japan. So when I hung up my headphones at CBC Radio, one of the first things I did was to dive headfirst into studying and researching interesting experiences that would help me gain purpose. So doing a TEDx talk was one of the very first things that I put on my list. So the first step that I did personally anyways was to dig up a number of contacts from TEDx chapters from around Canada. I started to reach out to them about giving a talk. My local chapter is called TEDxYYC. YYC is the local airport code for the Calgary International Airport. And the folks at TEDxYYC invited me to come and join them for an audition. So right away, it kind of put me into the position of having to think through how I was going to convince them that my talk is an idea worth spreading. Without getting into too much of the details, I passed the audition and I was invited to do a TEDx talk that I entitled How to Ikigai. So I can honestly say that the first step of doing a TEDx talk is to put it on your bucket list and to take action towards making it happen. The second step for giving a TEDx talk is to really kind of think about what you're passionate about. What do you excel at? What do you know that almost nobody else in the world knows? Remember, the slogan for TED is ideas worth spreading. And they really do take that battle cry very seriously. So if you're going to give a TEDx talk, it has to be on something that is beneficial to the world and it can spread and grow. I've heard TEDx talks from a huge variety of people, including a young woman who has invented a pressure sensing insole for people who have diabetes so that the insoles will remind those people to move their feet so they don't get pressure sores. But then again, one of my favorite TED Talks is titled How to Use a Paper Towel. And I'm not kidding you, it was delivered by a man named Joe Smith. Now, for the record, Joe shows that using a paper towel is a very specific method. And if you're going to dry your hands, use one paper towel. It's a technique that I still use every single time that I dry my hands with a paper towel. And his method has helped millions of people use just one paper towel when they dry their hands. Imagine how many trees he has saved with his TED Talk. So if you'd like to give a TED Talk, make sure that it's worth your while to put a lot of thought into it so that it will provide a lot of good for others. It has to be an idea worth spreading. The third step Well, this can be a bit of a tricky one because it's a timing issue, really. TEDx Talks happen all the time. Some chapters, though, offer TEDx events a few times a year. Others offer big theater-style TEDx events once a year. So you have to plan for when you're going to pitch your idea. You could be waiting up to a whole year to give your TED Talk. Then again, you could be waiting just a few months, but it is still an important step for you to plan for when you'd like to give your talk and then work backward from the event. You have to remember, though, that TEDx chapters are independently run by volunteers, so you'll need to both prioritize your timeline to make your talk work into their schedule. Step 4 is where the hard work comes in, and that is writing the content. Now, I'm a fairly comfortable speaker. I'm on stage for a living lots of the times. But that didn't mean that I wasn't a little freaked out about what I was going to say once I got onto that red circle of carpet doing a TED Talk. I wrote my TEDx talk, and then I rewrote it, and then I rewrote it again. And thankfully, TEDxYYC provided us with speaking coaches that would help us get our talks together. So that we could be ready to go, and they would put my feet to the fire often. They got me to do my talk for them alone in a room with others present as well, and they really challenged me why I presented in the way that I did. They would question if I wanted to leave some part of the talk out but include another part instead. Now, if you've ever done a PowerPoint presentation, it was kind of like that, but with higher stakes. You see, getting the content to the point where it just kind of rolls off your tongue is a huge task, but it's a process that is worth doing. The higher stakes part of it, though, comes when you surrender yourself to the fact that your TEDx talk will be uploaded to the TED website, and it's going to be out there for the rest of the world to see forever. But I can honestly say that you'll have tremendous support while you're writing your TED Talk, and it's all worth it in the end. The last step for giving a TEDx talk is to, you saw this coming, I guarantee it. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. I rehearsed my How to Ikigai talk in front of my cell phone recording. I did it in front of a little camera. I did it in front of the mirror. I hooked up my computer to my TV in the living room so I could rehearse it that way. I asked my friends if I could go to their homes and give them the presentation. I practiced even in front of my wife and kids. I don't think that I've ever really practiced anything so hard in my life. But it was all worth it again in the end, because when I stepped on stage, I really felt like I was ready. Who am I fooling? I was terrified. Even after all that rehearsing, the talk that I ended up giving wasn't anything like what I rehearsed, but the meat of the talk was still there, so I was ultimately happy in the end, and I still am. The audience at the TEDx event was so supportive, and they really wanted to be inspired. They yearned for hope and inspiration and wisdom, and they really cheered on all the speakers that day. So an incredible experience, and I wish it could happen for anybody, really. So to wrap things up on how to give a TEDx talk, let me just reiterate the 5 points. Number 1, put it on your bucket list. Number 2, pitch your idea worth spreading to a local TEDx organization. Number 3, prioritize it, not only for yourself, but for the volunteers and for the people who are putting the event together. Step number 4 is to write it, rewrite it, and then rewrite it again. Trust me, it's going to get better every single time you do a rewrite. And step number 5 is rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Get it right, and then you're going to be confident when you get on stage. You know, I've received emails and messages and invitations from around the world from putting the effort and intention into my TEDx talk. And a reminder, I did it in 2017, but since then, I've traveled to Paris, France to give a speech. I've written a book on How to Ikigai, and I still get invitations to be a guest on podcasts and TV shows and radio shows. And it's astounding at how an idea worth spreading spreads. It spreads opportunity not only for the speech giver, but it provides value for the people who actually consume the TEDx talk. Boy, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider checking out my TEDx talk and my other videos here on the channel. I'll put some links to those videos below, but Ikigai is really an idea that I continue to spread to this day. And if you're interested in learning what your Ikigai is, you can take my brand new course. It's called Do More You. I'll put the link in the description as well. I'm Tim Tamashiro. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again next time.